The following program is produced by students of the Brian Lamb School of Communication at Purdue University.
On this week's edition of Fast Track, we'll take to the skies as we learn about air traffic management and the responsibilities that come with controlling the sky.
We'll discuss credit cards and their importance to the financial futures of students and attend senior night for Purdue's men's basketball team.
We'll also visit with a group on campus educating the community on cannabis, otherwise known as marijuana. Welcome back to Fast Track. We are bringing you this week's show from Purdue's Beering Hall. I'm Ryan Strout.
And I'm Alexandra Johnson. One of the most stressful jobs in today's job market is air traffic management. Whether working in an airport tower or at a center that is responsible for hundreds of square miles, air traffic controllers are needed to make sure our airways remain safe. Fast Track reporter Gino Recchia has more on the story.
Eagle 3022 Earth Tower, good morning, clear to land on runway 28 center, wind 250 at 6.
Air traffic controllers keep our air safe, and with many of them getting ready to retire, there's a new demand for these positions. Hearing this news is very welcoming to Purdue students who one day plan to work as an air traffic controller.
My dad, he's an air traffic controller. He's been an air traffic controller for 25 years out of St. Louis. And when I was younger, he would take me to work sometimes on a day off or something, but still needed to run into work. And there's the big dark room that has a bunch of radars.
Students in the Holman Niswonger Simulator Center practice with real-life applications in order to succeed in this job market.
We have a lot of different students in this class. Some are in it because they want to be air traffic controllers. Others are pilots that basically want to know why certain things are being done while they're flying. So it's about half and half.
First class is a real general ATC class, just kind of this is what air traffic control is. And then there's the non-radar side and the radar side. And I'm in the radar one right now, which is the last class. And those are the classes that basically help you get an understanding of what air traffic control is.
There's only about 15,000 controllers in the United States. It's not a huge market. Almost all of them work for the government. They hire primarily from aviation type schools or from the military, from people who have been air traffic controllers there as well. So we are one of the programs here at Purdue that provides air traffic controllers for the FAA.
In order to become an air traffic controller, there are a few requirements that a person needs to have.
In the new hiring process, the basic minimum requirements are be 18 years of age, U.S. citizen, 4-year college degree or 3 years work experience, and there can be a mixture of the two. And then you must speak English fluently and clearly, because English is the international language for aviation.
In order to keep passengers and crew safe, there comes a time when inclement weather events will force controllers to delay flights.
When weather moves through, that will close runways or reduce how many airplanes an airport can handle. Using O'Hare as an example, their capacity to handle airplanes coming in gets reduced when they have to close a runway to remove snow. Since they can't handle as many planes, flights will start delaying, canceling. From an operations end, now airplanes are not in the city they were supposed to be.
Many people believe that pilots are the only ones that keep us safe in the skies, but may not realize that a lot of the work is done on the ground to keep us out of harm's way. Reporting for Fast Track, I'm Gino Recchia.
Bowling and billiards are known as American pastimes. Despite the rich history of these games, people on Purdue's campus may not be aware that Purdue's Memorial Union is a place to indulge in such hobbies. While visiting the Union, you might even get a chance to play some of your favorite arcade games. Jackson Brunner has more.
The daily college juggle of academic rigor and time management can often leave people without the time to relax and unwind. Little do Purdue University students know, a chance to kick back with friends can be found tucked away on campus at the Union Rack and Roll. Activities such as group bowling, an arcade, and casual or competitive billiards give students a chance to unwind on a night off.
We have the Purdue Bowling Club that's offered through here, and they practice and do tournaments all over the country. We have the Billiards Club, who also practices here and has tournaments here all the time. And then we also have our bowling leagues, which on Tuesday night we have the Intercollegiate League, which is a singles league where you go up against one other person on a sports pattern. And then we have the Black and Gold League on Wednesday nights, which is open to all students.
For students who want to learn how to bowl, instructor Doug Weidman gives them a chance to participate in a bowling class. Students who take part learn different techniques for how to bowl and master different parts of the lane using obstacles. Having taught these classes for 21 years, Weidman said the goal is to help students learn how to bowl for life.
My background's in education, and my passion is bowling. So I want to basically transmit that passion to other people. I want them not just to play the game, but to play the game with a certain degree of confidence, where they can walk into any bowling situation in any bowling center later in life and feel like they can participate in the game, and be confident they won't embarrass themselves at all. They don't have to feel intimidated by other bowlers who are there who are more experienced. So it really should be bowling is one of the few sports that you can literally play the rest of your life. It crosses all boundaries, all skill boundaries, all gender boundaries, all age boundaries. It's very inclusive, and there's no reason why you can't bowl the rest of your life.
The arcade, located between billiard tables and the bowling alley in Rack and Roll, contains a variety of games. While students and children might be the main intended audience, the popularity of the arcade has decreased.
To be honest, interest has waned over the years. You know, when I first started as a student back in 2000, there was a lot more interest in the arcade, especially some of the games like Dance Dance Revolution and that sort of thing. So I don't see us going anywhere anytime soon. Our biggest challenge is, because of our location, is getting the word out, you know, making sure that people are aware of where we are, you know, because we're not necessarily easy to find. So, you know, that's the biggest challenge going forward, is just making sure that we have what the students want, you know, able to offer them what they want and have a nice, clean facility going forward, and then getting the word out to let them know that it's there. So,
while offering a wide range of activities for Purdue students, the Rack and Roll's out-of-the-way location might leave some unaware of where to go for bowling, billiards, or even a little air hockey. As it happens, you only need to search in a place most West Lafayette residents visit every day. Reporting for Fast Track, I'm Jackson Bruner.
While most students spend time finishing up class projects before spring break, one club was hard at work disassembling their personally launched hot air balloon. The balloon was so impressive that it caught the attention of the U.S. Pentagon. Reporter Lauren Westberg joined the club for the unwrapping of the balloon and the test results.
Thursday before break, a Purdue balloon launching club unpacked a USPS package containing the remnants of their hot air balloon that they had personally launched the previous weekend.
This was a pretty vanilla launch. You know, we just wanted to send up a vehicle with a couple of microcontrollers, collect some data, see what the atmosphere looked like. So in all honesty, it wasn't that complicated of a launch. It was just the first one of the year, you know, to get us going. Further down the road, we're going to be doing some more complicated things.
In the balloon were various electronics monitoring different levels in the atmosphere in order to keep track of the balloon. The pressure sensor in the balloon allowed the team to track the height of the balloon by looking at its highest atmospheric pressure reading, which in turn gave them the balloon's highest altitude. After the balloon came back down to ground, the club used a second type of tracking device to see where it landed.
This is called a spot GPS. It's a personal handheld GPS satellite communication device. So this guy's really cool because it gets GPS coordinates and sends it up to a satellite. So a lot of hikers take this into the Amazon, and there's like a 911 button on it that you can press, and then, you know, they'll come find you and, you know, flight vac you out of the area. So this told us exactly where the balloon landed, which in this case happened to be someone's backyard.
Ultimately, the balloon reached a height of 80,000 feet, a surprisingly high number. Normally, the balloon would reach apogee, or its highest point, earlier in the flight and pop from the expanding air pressure. However, this time it didn't.
Because what happened was we launched around midday, and the balloon got to apogee around sunset. Well, at sunset, things start to get colder, and that colder actually causes the balloon to lose lift. So the balloon got up to 80,000 feet, lost its lift because the sun went down, and then slowly fell down to it. Eventually it hit the ground, snagged the tree, and popped.
Once the balloon had reached ground, the team looked into it and found it in Pennsylvania, in someone's backyard. After several phone calls, the club was able to get the balloon back.
Creepily, using the internet, we turned the GPS coordinates, figured out what the address of the house was, what the phone number of the house was, and we actually gave these folks a call. around 8 p.m. at night on Saturday. And sure enough, they were home. We told them to go outside. They found our balloon, and they mailed it back to us.
The biggest shock of all, though, was a surprise phone call that morning from the U.S. Pentagon. The United States Department of Defense is interested in commissioning the club for research and development involving shooting a missile off of a hot air balloon.
So like I said, one of the more intense projects that we're working on right now is to launch a rocket from a high-altitude balloon. That is traditionally called a raccoon. And it was done a lot in the 50s, right before, the opening of the space era. Since then, the activity in that sector has kind of died down. But we're wanting to do it as some R&D, and the DoD is interested. So they have a missile of their own that they would like to launch at high altitude potentially, so they want us to R&D and prototype the system and potentially work with them in the future.
The club will be launching another balloon later this semester for a competition. Best of luck to these talented students. Reporting for Fast Track, this has been Lauren Westberg.
Coming up, we'll discuss credit cards and their importance to a healthy financial future.
We'll be back right after this.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
On Purdue's campus, it is common for students to use their credit cards when paying for items. Many students get credit cards in order to save time in line, online shop, or even build credit for their future. Graduating students should know that building credit may even be more important to their financial future than they realize. Erica Seifert has more.
Most Purdue students are not strangers to debit and credit cards. Paying with plastic is common on campus, and students have specific reasons for choosing credit cards over other forms of payment.
I hate carrying cash, so it's definitely benefits not having to carry that around or worrying about losing it. And also with my credit card, they offer you online, you have a different credit card number every time, so that way if somebody does steal your number, it's not actually your real number.
Credit cards are not only convenient in the moment, they can provide students with benefits that will help them in the future. Financial counselors like Brandon Ensley are dedicated to helping Purdue students get started in the world of credit.
So on the basic level, it can at least start someone's career, help them with the credit management, and just help with the very beginnings of financial literacy.
In order for students to gain the benefits that come from building up credit, they must first be aware of the risks that come with using credit cards.
Well, just as easy as credit cards are a helper to students, they can be a hindrance to students. It's very easy to overspend. It's very easy to purchase things that you might not normally if you had cash. And it's very easy for students to go into situations of debt, of credit, what we call credit snowball, where they're taking out one credit card to pay another credit card, and then their debt is just skyrocketing.
Some students believe that the positive effects of building credit are worth the precautions they have to take with their card.
For me, the benefits outweighed the risk because when I was a sophomore, I was unable to get an apartment without a cosigner or a deposit. So now that I do have credit cards and it built up my credit history, I'm able to get any kind of loan or an apartment without a cosigner or anything.
When it comes to renting apartments, it is important for students to have at least a small amount of credit built up, and the most effective way to do this is through credit cards.
In advance, maybe like get 1 or 2 credit cards seems to be one of the better ways to build credit. Like people tend to think like your phone is earning you credit or your car payment, which kind of does, but it more so will just hurt your credit. If anything, if you're paying good, it's not really making your credit any better because they don't report to the credit bureau, but credit cards do if you're paying on time and stuff. Or a lot of students use a cosigner with their parents, and then you build up the rental history and some credit that way, and then maybe the next time you go to get approved for something, you've had that built up.
Students who are thinking about getting a credit card should be prepared to do their research. It is important to be informed about all aspects of credit before making any purchases.
Some things students should look for are, you know, the best APR rate. They should be looking for discounts that are pertinent to the students. But overall, they should shop. They should make sure that they know that they are getting the best credit card for them. Some credit cards have yearly fees. Some credit cards do not. And nerdwallet.com is one website that students can go out there and review all credit cards and all their offers in one spot.
Before I got my first credit card, I did a lot of research on different websites. I also called and contacted my insurance agent, and she told me a lot about the credit card that I do have. It's through State Farm, and she just told me the benefits of that card.
More resources are available on Purdue's website under the My Money tab, as well as in the Division of Financial Aid. For Fast Track, I'm Erica Seifert.
The Purdue men's basketball team recently finished their final game of the regular season, and though their season was not the best, they still received a lot of support from students and fans on their senior night. John Rawlings goes inside to tell us more.
March 9, 2014 may not be a memorable date for all, but for the seniors on Purdue's basketball team, it means a lot. Sterling Carter, Eric Peck, Travis Carroll, and Tyrone Johnson all played their last game in Mackey Arena. They gathered for their concluding team meeting, their closing appearance before their beloved paint crew. They experienced their final exit from the tunnel, their last minutes on Katy Court. Tyrone Johnson had his name announced for the last time as a starting guard in Mackey Arena, and Travis Carroll may have had his last opportunity to show off his dance moves in the team circle. All in all, this day would prove to be an emotional one. Travis Carroll made his fourth career three at the start of the game, but they never really found a rhythm after that. Playing down most of the game was how this senior night ended up. Purdue's 19.2 field goal percentage and 21 first half points were both season lows for a half, and that reflected in the final score. Northwestern defeated Purdue 74-65, leaving the Boilermakers in last place in the conference. Though they lost the game, this did not stop the seniors from being honored on the court. Each senior walked out of the tunnel, escorted by their parents and relatives, and received gifts from head coach Matt Painter. Afterward, each of the players were given a microphone to thank whomever they chose. Some players were all smiles about the moment, while others were very impassioned.
I think it's just a lot of emotions running. You know, it started for me yesterday. Just thinking, you know, me coming here and playing my last game. Some of the great memories that I've had here, they all start running through your mind, stuff like that. So, but I thought, you know, my family, you know, and the Purdue family as a whole has always been here for me, and that's the reason why you get emotional about things like this. I never thought I was going. I told my dad I wasn't going to get emotional coming into it, but once I started walking down that hallway right there, you know, I started feeling it, and I was like, you know, I might get emotional, you know. And he's like, I told you, yeah, but it just comes up, yeah.
Senior night brings a lot of emotion. And as for Eric Peck, Sterling Carter, Travis Carroll, and Tyrone Johnson, they just played their final game at Mackey Arena. Unfortunately for the seniors, they were not able to obtain the score they wanted as Northwestern defeated Purdue 74-65 to close out the end of the regular season. Reporting for Fast Track, I'm John Rawlings.
Purdue has a great number of international students on campus, with almost 2,000 of these international students coming from Korea. The Purdue Korean Association sponsored Korean Cultural Day as a way for Korean students to come together. Reporter Alexandra Johnson has more on the story.
There are approximately 2,000 Korean students and faculty on Purdue's campus, and the goal of Purdue Korean Association is to provide traditional activities and events for the Korean population.
Korean Culture Day is a second annual event. So last year we started this series. It was basically to promote Korean culture on Purdue University. And on top of that, we're trying to not only promote Korean culture, but also promote diversity and inclusion on campus.
Korean Cultural Day was held on March 6th and 7th, and there were 4 different events for the community members to attend, including the Korean Cultural Center, Movie Day, the Korean Food Show, and finally ending with the performance show.
PKA's initial plan was to bolster Korean community within, Korean society. But starting from this year, we are trying to expand our horizons, and we are willing to outreach to the campus.
At the Cultural Center, the attendees could play Korean games, learn about their currency, and even learn how to write their names in Korean.
I learned about the different games. I got to try on some traditional clothing. That was really cool, just seeing how they're made. They're really comfortable. I like that. And just got to see, know what Korea looks like, where all the different cities are and islands.
I just learned a lot, even the short time that we've talked to them, and just really getting their perspective on things as far as being students and stuff is really interesting to me. Especially I'm really interested in other people's culture and learning where they came from, just because I know I came from somewhere different. So it's just really nice to see that.
I hope they continue do it more. Yeah, it was really cool, and I'm actually even looking forward to the events tomorrow as well. Yeah, it's really fun.
Korean Cultural Day is an event that allows Purdue students to learn about the Korean way of life, as well as a way to unite Korean students on Purdue's campus.
Today we had bulgogi and japchae. Bulgogi is the beef that is marinated with the soy sauce and also with some vegetables. And japchae is some kind of noodle that is made with sweet potato. And then we also mixed with these sesame oil, soy sauce, and some vegetables together. And then we also had a kimchi, which is the Korean traditional food.
Korean Cultural Day ended with a performance show that highlighted traditional dances, sports, and storytelling. Reporting for Fast Track, I'm Alexandra Johnson. Up next on Fast Track, we'll visit with a group attempting to educate the community on marijuana.
We'll be right back.
We are all Boilermakers, but we're also much more. We're history makers, exploring the farthest reaches of our universe, often when strapped to a rocket. We are hope makers, rebuilders of Haitian cityscapes who ensure they'll now withstand any disaster. We are difference makers, developers of drought-resistant crops that just might end world hunger. The fact is, what we make moves the world forward. We are Purdue, Makers All.
As other states across the nation become more flexible on their views of marijuana, leniency may seem like a long shot for conservative Indiana. However, a club on Purdue's campus is looking to change perspectives, at least on a local level. Lauren Westberg has more.
College is a time where students are known to experiment, and those experiments may include alcohol or drugs. One of the most popular of these drugs is marijuana, commonly known as weed or pot, which is listed as a Schedule I drug. Someone could smoke continuously many times, or it could be only one try. One thing is certain though, if caught with this drug, the results could be disastrous.
When people get involved in the criminal justice system, it has these really big impacts. They have difficulty getting jobs. It can have an impact on their ability to get school loans, student loans. And so we have a situation where people have possessed a plant and their lives are almost fundamentally ruined as a result of it.
Just last month, Purdue police filed 14 cases of possession of marijuana and marijuana use. Having such a mark on permanent record could be disastrous. However, a recently revived club on campus, the Purdue chapter of National Organization for Reformation of Marijuana Laws, or commonly known as NORML, is looking to change some of those negative attitudes.
I mean, it's the same thing they always say. They always have the same touted, oh, this percent of people become addicted, it's harmful to children, it's a gateway drug. All of these things that have been time and time again disproven by especially new research, because unfortunately a lot of that research that was being done was government funded by the DEA. So of course that research is going to show that exactly what they want it to show a little bit.
Thompson, personally, is interested in legalizing recreational marijuana so he can create his own dispensary business. Other members of the club are interested in decriminalizing the drug, and some are interested in its medicinal capabilities. All of these changes, though, start with changing both policy and perspective.
It's really those two things go hand in hand. I really think the way you start to change the policy is by changing the perspectives of just the common person and seeing what they believe. But really it is kind of, we're doing both at the same time a little bit. We're going to do like letter writing campaigns to lawmakers and legislatures and business officials, and then also doing just advertising campaigns around Purdue, just kind of showing like just the different myths and truths about marijuana.
That's kind of where you have to start, is by getting a sense of what people locally need in order to be able to change their minds about the current restrictions and then kind of moving onward.
With states such as Washington and Colorado legalizing recreational marijuana and the District of Columbia decriminalizing small amounts, it seems as though the United States is changing its negative attitude towards the Schedule I drug. In fact, even Indiana is becoming a little more lenient with its legalization of hemp products.
The tobacco crop has been declining in Indiana, and so is, of course, smoking, which is a good thing. And so they feel that this industrial hemp could take the place of the tobacco that they're no longer growing. And it will actually help people quite a bit.
Hemp products, or marijuana that is grown without THC levels, can be used for a variety of things, from rope to clothing articles to even intensive care lotion. However, the Indiana state legislature passed this bill with more medicinal uses in mind, particularly in the case of seizures. For those who are interested in changing the attitudes about marijuana both locally and federally, NORML's webpage can be found on Boiler Link. Club members urge those who feel iffy about joining NORML to recognize the basis of the club is to change perspectives, not to sit around and talk about the drug.
I guess I could see people being iffy because they're afraid that other people might judge them or say, oh, look at all these people, there's a bunch of potheads, all they're doing is getting together. And it's not that at all. Chris is a very intelligent guy. He certainly seems to know what he's doing. His lectures are all well put together, and people are generally learning. And at the same time, you have the opportunity to make a difference.
Maybe one day we'll see a more open-minded Indiana, but that day is not for many years to come. Reporting for Fast Track, I'm Lauren Westberg.
That's all we have time for on this week's edition of Fast Track. Thanks for watching. I'm Alexandra Johnson.
And I'm Ryan Stroud. Join us again next week.